The skirt is fine. In this video, we'll be making a beautiful new flare skirt to be a long skirt, and the flare will be high and low. That is, the back will be longer while the front side will be shorter. So I will use this beautiful fabric for the tutorial. Now the length of the skirt is 27 inches, but my flare, I want it to start from 13 inches instead of the normal length of knee. That is the knee length I'm working with is 16 inches. So I'm going to be minusing 3 inches from the 16 inches, making it 13. So that is the upper part. The upper part of the skirt will be 13 inches. So I'll be adding 1 inch to it for seam allowance. If I add 1 inch, it will be 14 inches. So now these 14 inches, I'll mark 5 inch or 5.5 for the hip measurement. This 5.5 for the hip. Now the circumference of the hip is 25 inches. Divided into 4 will give me 6 1/4. So I will use my hip measurement to determine the width of the skirt. That is my folding. So now this 6 1/4, then I'll add it. So I'm okay with this width. Now the first thing I'll do now is to place the waist measurement. The waist measurement I'm working with is 22 inches. 22 divided into 4 will give me 5.5 inches. Then I'll add extra 2.5 inches because half inch I'll use it as my dart, while 2 inches as the main allowance. Now for the hip, I'll measure 6 1/4 plus 2.5 inch. Okay, for the hip I'll just add 2 inches. Now for the new side, I'll just minus 1 inch from the hip line. So what I have here is 8 1/4. If I remove half inch, 1 inch from it, it will be 7 1/4. So that's what I'll place as the new measurement. Then I'll join the lines together. I'll cut it out. Now for the back, I'll add extra 1 inch for the zip allowance, or let's say 1.5 inches, plus half inch for the seam allowance for my lining. Okay, now place my fabric from the line. Okay, I'll be cutting the back piece now. I'll put a notch for the zip allowance. Then I'll open it up. So guys, I'm having my two back pieces, and this is the front here. So the next thing we do now is to cut the flay or the circular part of the skirt. Now I'll fold my fabric into four. Now for the flay, my fabric is folded into four. I'll measure. Remember the length of the skirt is 27 inches and I remove 13 inches from it. So I'm having 14 inches left. So I'll be adding extra inches for the seam allowance and for the hemline. I'll add extra 2 inches. Now I will measure. Before I measure that, the back will be higher than the front part. The front part will be upper. So before I will cut it out, I'll first of all take the radius of the nail. The hip measurement I'm working with is 25 inches. So I will measure this place, the radius, to get exactly 25 inches, but I will reduce it by 1 inch. That 1 inch I will use it as my seam allowance. Okay, for the radius I will mark 4 inches. This 4 inches here. That is to say, by the time I measure it round, I supposed to have 6 1/4, and this is exactly what I have here. So I'm using the hip measurement. I'm not gonna add any other thing. I'll use the 1 inch as my seam allowance. Now for the length now, this is 14 inches. I'll add extra 1 inch, making it 15 inches for this part. Okay, I'll take it round. The 15 inches is 15 inches. I'll cut out the radius as well. Okay. Now I will open it up. I'll reduce the front side depending on how you want it. I'll reduce it this way. So I'll cut it out. So guys, you can see that. So by the time I open it, see how it will look. Okay. So the front will be shorter while the back side will be longer. So the next thing I'll do now is to go ahead and cut the lining for the skirt. Now I'll cut for the back. This is the front. Now I've cut the lining both for the front and the back. The next thing we're going to be doing is to sew it. First thing I'll do is to turn it with my lining. I'll sew it this way, the two sides first. For the upper part, I'll be using a bias to fold it in, so I will leave it open like this. I'm going to leave it open. I'll just sew the two sides. The same thing I'll do to the back. The same way, I'll sew the two sides. The upper side and the down side will be open. Now the same thing to the second back piece. I'm going to sew the two sides. Then I'll tell you the next thing we'll be doing. Okay guys, the next thing we're going to be doing is to put our zip. For the zipper, I will mark 7.5 inches. This is 7.5. So that means I will close this side up and put my zip at the upper side. Remember, I'm having 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance here. So I'm going to sew through this line to close it up. Why this part will be for my zipper. After it, I will show you the next thing we're going to be doing. Okay guys, I'll fix my zipper. You can see it. The next thing now we'll do is to shape the skirts. The waist measurement I'm working with is 22 inches. Divided into 2 will give me 11 inches. This is 11 inches here. Now, to shape it, I would count the remaining inches and divide it into 2. We are having 1, 2, 3 inches. So, to shape it, I will use 1.5 inches. Now for the hip measurement I'm working with is 25 inches. Divided into 2 will give me 12.5 inches. This is 12.5 inches here. I will do the same thing 1, 2, 3. So I will use 1.5 inches for the shaping as well. So I'll connect the line. Now for the hip measurement, what I have here is 14 inches. Remember, 12.5 plus half 1.5 will give me 14 inches. Now for the knee, I will minus 1 inch and measure 13 inches. So this is 13 inches here. I will as well divide the remaining inches into 2. This is 1 inch here. Divided into 2 will give me half. So I will use half. For the knee is half inch for my allowance here. Why I'm having 1.5 for this place. Now I'll go to my sewing machine and sew through these lines. Then I'll show you the next thing we'll do. Because We'll first take it one side, then I'll turn it over to shape the remaining side. Now for the other side, I've already sewed this side. Now what I have to do now is just to put my 1.5 inches here. For the hips as well, I'm putting 1.5 inches. Now for the knee, I'll put only half inch. I'll as well go to my sewing machine and sew through this line. Then I'll show you the next thing we'll do. Okay guys, I've shaped both sides of the skirt. You can see it. The next thing I will do now is to join this down part, which is the circular part of the skirt, to the main body of the skirt. Now this is the front side, which is shorter, and this is the back side, which is longer. So I'm going to open it this way. Now this is how it will be. I will notch these two sides, these two edges here. I will notch it and the other side. Okay. Then I open my skirts. Now this is the upper side, while this is the lower side. That is the new side. What I'll do now is to put it, insert it inside the skirt this way. Now with my pin, this line should rhyme with the notch, the part I notched. You can see it. I'll place it exactly at this seam line. Then I'll use my pin and hold it. Then I'm gonna plait. You can see this part is bigger to the new side. So I'm gonna plait it at this point. I will as well plait it at this side. The same thing I will do to the back. Okay guys, I've used my pin to pin it through. So I'll go to my sewing machine now and sew it round. Then I'll show you the next thing we'll be doing. Okay guys, I've joined the down part. You can see that. So the next thing we're going to be doing is I want to use my bias tape for the hemline instead of weaving it or folding it. Now I will use my bias tape for the hemline. Then for this part, after that, the next thing I will do now is to cut out a piece from my fabric. So before then, I have to measure to know the length I'm having here. Okay, this is 22 inches here. I'll cut it in form of bias to use for the upper part. For this side. So I'll cut 23 inches instead of 22. The 22 is the waistline, so I'll add extra 1 inch. I'm cutting 1 inch only. I'll fold in ½ inch like so. Then from the front side, I'm gonna sew it through. The same thing to this part, I'll fold in ½ inch. This way. So by the time I finish sewing this, I will turn it in and then top stitch it. Okay guys, we are through with the skirts. This is the waist. Why this is the hemline. You can see how beautiful the skirt looks. You can see the front. This is the front and it's shorter, while this is the back. You can see it. This is the back, while this is the front. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click on the bell icon to be notified anytime I publish another video. If you like this video, please kindly comment and give it a thumbs up. Bye until I see you in my next video.